All right, well, good morning, everyone. Today we're going to talk about securing our Microsoft Teams and with our members and all file management. We want to make sure everything is secure in our team and not open up to people that shouldn't have access to it. So I will share my screen. As I'm sharing the screen, as Lisa mentioned, we do have our training. Being this is a recording, we'll try to keep our training more updated. Right now it's the middle of July, but we have August out there. We're going to try to do it at least 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time. So check out our training website frequently. All right, so today we're going to talk about, we're going to start with securing a team. And I'm going to open up my Microsoft Teams, put it on the correct window. We just got to reply back. Okay, so we're going to start from scratch. I'm going to create a team. And as we always say, if you haven't created a team to play around with, we encourage you to do that, just so you don't break any real data. But just get to know teams a little bit better. And I use mine all the time. As new things come out, I go in there and play with my sandbox, I call it. But for now, I'm going to click on Teams, and I'm going to create a team. And if you're watching this, you all encouraged to do the same as well, even if you watch on video. If you're in the list view, join or create a team will be here. If you're in the grid view with the tiles, it'll be in your upper right. But I'm going to go ahead and say join or create a team. And I'm going to create a team, and we're just going to do other. The majority of the time, that's what you'll use. And I'm going to do MU. Actually, I don't need to do MU for the team. I'm going to do Greg, and today's date is 7/20. Yeah, 7/20/23. I just picked that out as a name. You can give it a description. It will be a private team. You have to have special permissions to make this a public team. Our training teams are public because we want everybody to have access to them. But this is a private team. We're going to click next. Now, what I suggest doing is before you add any members to your team, let's go ahead and secure the team. Set it up the way we want. Because if I start to add members, by default, everybody has access to things. So I typically skip this part. And then I'll go into my team, which will be at the bottom. So here's your team. You'll know you'll get just a general channel. The first thing that I do is I go into the ellipsis, the 3 dots beside the team name, and I go to manage my team. I want to make sure that it's all set up correctly. The members, I'm not going to worry about the members right now. The first place that I typically go is to my settings. Now, depending on the purpose of your team, if you don't have very many people, you can allow your members to do equally access the things that owners can do. But under team pictures, you can tweak all that stuff. But under member permissions, this is where I go. You have to decide as the owner, and I will throw out, we always encourage you to have at least 2 owners of every team. Otherwise, if I'm the only owner and I leave, or if I go to a different department, nobody can change anything or manage that team. But so that's a campus, not a policy, but a recommendation that you have at least 2 owners for every team. And we'll get back to that when I go back to members. But the first thing I do is the settings here. You have to decide what you want to allow your members to do. So do you want them to be able to create and update channels, create private channels, delete channels, right? Add applications. A lot of people, what they do is they have their owners set up the team the way the team should be set up and managed, and then allow the members just to be able to use Teams. You can still, use the post, chat, upload files, and do all of that, because you definitely don't want to create all these different channels and have members go in there and delete all your channels. Likewise, we'll talk about the different channel types briefly, but by default, a member can create a private channel. So if you give the ability to create a private channel to members, if they don't make you as an owner a member of the private channel, you can't even see what's in a private channel. So I usually don't use private channels at all. I know there's situations where they can be useful, but we'll talk about that later. So what I typically do, I come all the way down here. Anything that says allow members, I turn all that off, because I usually set up the team the way it needs to be set up. And then if members are like, it'd be nice to have this channel or this application, then I go in there and add it for them. Oops, I missed one. Now, this owner can delete all messages. That was added in a K-12 environment because, believe it or not, sometimes students post things they shouldn't post and teachers need to remove all posts. So that's why that was added. So if you might have members or staff that say things that they regret saying, you can easily go in and delete that. But you can, of course, give the members the option to delete their own messages or edit their own messages. So typically this is how I set it up. But again, it depends on your environment, what you want allow your members to do, okay? So because I have done that, here's also guest permissions. Because I said do not allow this for my members, my guests cannot do it as either, okay? But if you do allow, put this back, if you do allow your members to do those type of things, then you have the option, okay, allow guests to create an update channel. So guests are people that's outside the university that you have added to your team. So anything that's not a system email address. Okay, so you can easily, and we'll show that, you can easily add that. But as soon as I deselect this here, it will not give you the option for your guest either, because it says, oh, if you don't want your members to do it, then you definitely don't want your guest to have that ability. Okay, now on the @mentions, you know how you could @mention a name in a chat or a post. So if we're all in the same team and I say @Lisa Friesman, it'll send that to her. I can also @mention a whole channel. So if I allow my members to do @channel, everybody on that channel or everybody on the team have the ability to message everybody. So it's kind of like an email to the whole group, right? If you don't want your members to @mention the whole team and kind of spam everybody, you can also disable this. Okay. And we also, Lisa showed this team code. This is a way that I can generate a code. So this code here can be used to join my team. It will say that guest won't be able to join with the code. You have to be within the university to click on this thing here. It says join or create a team. You can join with this code. Some people use this like for if you have a committee, a team of a committee, once everybody's joined the committee, they will reset this code to something else. And then that old code no longer works. So that's a secure way to keep people from getting on your team. So they reset it and then they remove people who shouldn't be on the team. So you could publicize the code and then reset it and take people off the team that shouldn't be on the team. Okay, so those are some of the settings that I do in here. The team code, I usually use that. I turn it on, and then if I need it, you can always pop in here and see the existing team code, and then you can copy it and post it somewhere. The @mention and the member permissions, those are the three that I use. And then I come back here, and then I want to make sure before I add anybody that I have at least 2 owners. So I would come in here, add a member, and Lisa's lucky because she'll gets to be another one of my demo teams here. There, look, it has Lisa Friesman because she's been added to. This is her personal account. Since she's been added to a team somewhere else in our tenant, she is now in our Azure Active Directory. She's able to be picked up and put into any other team. But I want to make sure, so you want to note that if you want to make sure it's Lisa's university account, make sure it has either, UMKC, MU, those are students. If it says guest, don't use that unless you really want her guest account, her non-MU account. At least I'm glad you had that so I could point that out. So I'm going to pick Lisa's account. Now, when I add her, it's going to add her as a member of the team, and I can easily promote her as an owner. So now she's an owner. I close that. Now let's say that I've added, I can add other members now to my team, or people can join with that code that I gave them. So now if I decide, hey, Lisa has left and I want to delete her as an owner. In fact, let me just add one more. Let me show you the difference here. Bonnie, I'm going to pick on you since you're on the line here. I'm going to put Bonnie. And Bonnie, I'm going to add you to this team. You're going to be a member. So if I close this, I can expand this. You'll notice an owner does not have the X. A member has a guest here. So I can easily take this account. I can remove this account from my team. I can also come to member, promote you as an owner. Now, I cannot delete Lisa as an owner, and that's a safeguard because what I have to do first is to demote her to a member. Once she's a member, then I can remove her account. That's just so you don't accidentally delete an owner. So we'll leave that back. So this is what my team's going to look like. So once I have the team set up the way I wish, and again, I can come in here and I can add my members. I can add external users as well. Let me just show you. So I have my team. Let me come down here. So from my team look, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to change my view because I'm in the list view. And this is another little tip here. If I go up to the 3 dots up here by my profile, the ellipsis, here's my settings for the team's application is up here. So here's my view. I'm in the layout, the list view. I'm going to switch over to the grid view. So the grid view, my teams look like this. Anything in bold means I haven't read something. I'm going to go to the one that I made for today. Now this is good for training because if you only have one team or maybe 1 or 2 teams, you could use the grid view because if I click this, now I don't have the whole list. I just focus on that one team. So that's what I wanted to do here. I wanted to focus just on the team that we've created. Let me make this bigger because you have a little background view going on. Okay. So now what I could do once I have the team started, I can click the ellipsis of the team. I can either manage a team. I can add members right here is what I was wanting to show you. So I have the manage team, add a channel, add members. I can leave the team. So maybe there's a team that I now put you all on. You're like, I don't need to be a member of this team. I can just leave the team. Edit the team allows you to change the name and change the description and the name and the little avatar. So we can have, we're going to be the singing Mike team, I guess. There we go. Put a little picture up there. The tags, and you can delete the team. As an owner, you have the option to delete the team. So I can come here, add more members. And this is where now I can add members now. And all they will see is a general channel. Or maybe I want to go ahead and set up some channels. And again, a channel is just a way to structure your team if you have different topics, different discussions. So we can do everything in a post. I can talk about human resources. I can talk about fiscal. I can talk about just research, anything you want to talk about. But the reason that we create channels moving back up, I can also make folders here. So I can make a folder here called HR. So I could structure this just like I do on our existing, if you're on a file server. I can go here, then I can say fiscal, and then facilities. That was the word I was looking for. So maybe within my department, I have these 3. But instead of coming here into the chat and say, okay, this is about facility issues we're having, and this is about HR, what I should do is make a different channel so it's focused on that topic. It's a channel focus. So what I should do, since I've had these 3 folders, is make a channel for each of them, and then I can move these files to the appropriate folder and have focused discussions about those topics. Okay, so that's why we make channels. It's mostly based on your discussion, because you could always, it's not really a file structure, because I can do file structure here. I want the focus to be on that. So I'm going to add a channel, and I'm going to add some different types here in a second. But so my channel would be an HR, and I'm going to leave everything as a standard channel. The benefit of a standard channel is I can add all the applications that I have rights to for that channel. By default, it says everyone on the team has access. So you need to understand that everybody has access to the post and to the files on the standard channel. So I'm going to add that channel, and then I'm going to add a fiscal channel. And again, I'm going to leave them all as a standard. And the last one was facilities. All right. Now, what some areas do, this is just a standard, and you probably know if I come here, I can add another type of channel. I can add what's called a private channel, and this is going to be my confidential. And I'm going to change this to a private channel. So a private channel is people in the private channel are the only ones that can see the post and the files in that channel, but they also have to be a member of a team first. So it's kind of a sub-team of the primary team, you could think of it. As I mentioned before, not even owners can see what's in a private channel unless they're a member of that private channel. So that's something you have to be aware of. So the kind of the downfall of a private channel, again, is I can't add any other applications. I can't add a lot of applications to this. The other type of channel, I'm going to add a channel, and this is going to be for, I'm going to put Jesse, for Jesse Hall. I'm going to make this a shared channel. So it says, do you want to share this channel with everyone on the team? So you can make it so everybody on the team can see this, plus anybody else that you add. That works for anybody within our tenant. So anybody within the University of Missouri system. So they don't need to be a member of my team. So this is the benefit of a private channel. Maybe in my department, I collaborate with people at Jesse Hall on usually like HR fiscal stuff. So I can make this private channel, and I can share it with anybody within the tenant. And they don't need to be a member of my team. So you need to decide, do you want everybody else in your team to see this, or only those that are in that shared channel? So kind of in that case, so this works like a standard channel plus shared. And if I deselect it, now it works like a private channel plus shared, because now only people in this channel, the shared channel, can see it just by clicking this. So I'm going to just leave that as just whoever's a member of that. Okay. But this channel works like, let's get this, like the private. Now I'm limited on what type of applications I can add. So if I go here and I try to add tasks by planner and to do, I don't have that option. Okay. Likewise, if I go here and if I add, again, try to add tasks by planner and to do, it does not show up. But if I go to a standard channel, and I pick out task by planner to do, results task by planner. There it is, planner to do. Let me back up and just check that again on the shared channel. Because I gave up on task by, yeah, you can't find it. Okay. Let me try one more thing here. What I have not tested, if I add a channel and I say another shared, if I make this a shared channel and I leave this here so everybody on the team can see it, does it act like a standard channel plus a shared? Let me see if I can add now. No, I still can't. As soon as I click shared, and the reason is every different type of channel has their own SharePoint site. So a shared channel, it has the same site as your team. So the team, and like in this case, this facilities, fiscal, and HR, they share the same SharePoint site. The shared channel has its own, this shared channel has its own, and the private one has its own. And once you create a channel, you can't change the type, okay? The only thing you could do is move your files between channels if you need to, but you'll lose any kind of post, any kind of communication. Now, I mentioned when you would use a shared channel, right? If I'm going to share information across our tenant with other departments, then I'd use a shared channel because they don't need to be a member of my team. They only need to be a member of my channel. When I would use a private channel, let's say there's a administrative executive and their chairperson and whoever they report to, maybe they don't care about all the applications, but they need to keep all their posts and all their files confidential between them. Then that's a good case in where you want to use a private channel, because then you have the history of the conversations. Now, what we could do, I'm going to, this HR, by default, that's a standard channel. So by default, everybody on the team has access to these files, okay? So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to create a new folder. And this is, I'll put one that says all. That means everybody on the team can see this folder, okay? Now I'm going to create another folder and I'm going to call this one limited. That means only a limited, and you can call it whatever you want. I'm just using these names for examples. Okay, so now I'm in HR. Everybody in the team, they can see this if they wish. I want them to see this, but I want to restrict who can see this. Likewise, under fiscal, I don't want anybody to see that, but only the fiscal people, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make an HR group, and I'm going to make a fiscal group. So the HR group, they will see what's in the limited. The fiscal group, they're the only ones going to see what's in this whole channel here, this whole fiscal channel. So I don't want anybody else on the team to see what's in this. Again, right now, members can edit everything that's in fiscal and HR and facilities. Visitors can read what's in here. So if I had visitors in my channel, they could read this. Okay. So let me go out to, remember, there's always SharePoint that's behind your team. So I'm going to go out to SharePoint and I'm going to look at some of this stuff. Let me close that. So now I'm going to go up to the Home tab because this is the home of my team, my SharePoint site. So this is the home of my team, okay? If I click on Documents, this is where everything is stored from Teams. This is the default document, what's called a document library. And you'll notice in this document library, it has the 4 standard channels. It has the general, the HR, the fiscal, and the facility. Okay, I'm going to jump back here just a second. You'll notice that these 3 are not listed because they have their own SharePoint site. If you want to see them, you'd have to go to Confidential. You'll have to go to Files, and then again, Open in SharePoint. And let me just do that for just this one. You'll notice I'm in the Confidential, I'm in the team, the Confidential private folder. If I go back here to Documents, I only see Confidential because it's its own SharePoint site. It doesn't see the standard ones. Likewise, Confidential is not listed here. So these are what's in the site library. If I look at the channels, I can see here all of my channels in my team. I can't get to these. Let's see what happens if I click on Confidential. So it takes me to, same thing, it takes me to that site, and that's handy. And why did I just close that? So I can always see, I can jump to the other sites, but I can't make any changes unless I'm in that site. So let me go back to Files, Open in. So I just want to go add to SharePoint. Again, I'm in Documents. Okay, I want to stop here. This is what's on my site. This is what's on the documents, but I can see what's on the team here. So if I need to say, oh, and this is something they've added. We used to not have this in channels. So here's my channels of my team. This is what's on this SharePoint site, and I can always add more folders and files here. If I add it here, it won't be on Teams, but I'm not going to get to that right now. I want to talk about securing your team, what you currently have. Like I said, I have an HR that I want to restrict, and I have a fiscal. So if I come here to fiscal and I select the three dots, I want to manage access. I want to see who has access to fiscal. Right now, this says there's no individuals that have access. Normally that's true because we don't want to add individual people here, because if I added Lisa here and she left, I'd have to go through every one of my channels to figure out where Lisa had access to. We always give access to groups and then add people to the group. And I'll show you how and why in a second. So right now, members can edit the members of this group and visitors can view, is what it shows me. And that's the default for every one of these channels. So what I want to do is I want to create a couple of groups and only give those groups access. Like I said, I want HR. Let me open this up. On all access, we'll leave that one alone. So if I go to here and I say manage the access, I want the whole team, which if I look under groups on this tab, all my members can edit. I will leave that. Visitors, if we want them to keep reading, we'll keep those. Of course, we'll always leave owners. We want owners to be able to get to this data. But what I want to limit is this limited access. So I'm going to come here first, and I can do this now or later, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now. I'm going to select limited because I don't want everybody to be able to see this. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to manage access. If I again go to groups, the default is owners have full access. Members and visitors, they can edit and view, but I only want a certain limited number of people to access this, and we're going to name that HR. So I'm going to come here where it says can edit. I'm going to click on that. Right now it says they have direct access to this. If I select that, I'm going to change this can edit to, I can change it to view, but I want to remove their access because I don't want members to be able to get into this folder. So I'm going to remove that access. And likewise, I definitely don't want visitors who aren't members. I don't want them to see it at all because this is confidential stuff. This is HR. So now only the owners can see it, which is good because I need to grant access to this HR group. So that one's ready. I've taken away access to everybody except for owners. Likewise, if I go back, I'm going to use this breadcrumb to go back to documents. Under the fiscal, now all a channel is just another folder in the document library. So it looks just like a folder. So I can go to fiscal and I can do the same thing. This will affect the whole channel. I'm going to manage that access. There's no people, and this very seldom that you should have people have access. I'm going to go to groups and do the same thing. I'm going to remove access to visitors and remove access to members. So again, I'm going to select that, drop the view down, and remove their access. Okay. And the same thing for members. I'm going to select that, select edit, drop that down, and remove access. Okay, so again, just like we did with the limited under HR, now the whole fiscal channel, which is just a folder, I'm going to remove access. So only the owners have access. So now that we have those, we are going to create what's called a group. And it's an M365 group, a Microsoft 365. And believe it or not, we can easily do this in Outlook. So I'm going to do this in Outlook on the web because Outlook on the web is the same for everybody. So if you just go to office.com, click on Outlook, it will come up like this, okay? So I'm going to create two groups. One of them is going to be HR and one of them is going to be fiscal. So I'm going to select up here on it says new email. I'm going to use the arrow to the right. I'm going to drop that down and I'm going to create a new group. Here it's going to say, what's the name of your group? So this is going to be, and you want to do this by department or by your area, kind of get specific because this is a tenant-wide. Anybody at the University of Missouri can do this. So we want to usually do whatever campus you're on, and then whatever maybe your department is. And I'll just use CVM, at least I came from there. And then this is going to be my HR. So I'll put me, because they might want to use that. I'll use MUCVM Greg HR. And you'll notice that it actually comes with an email list or an email address, and you can put the purpose of it. The purpose of this group is just to do security on a Teams folder, okay? We're not going to use it for anything else. So I'm going to create that group. So MUCVM Greg HR. And then I'll get the chance to add people to this, and I'll say not now. But what I will, because I could add Lisa to this group, and I can either make her a member of the group, or I need to make other people an owner of the group. So an owner of the group will allow the owner to add and remove people from the group, so they can help me manage this group. Okay, so Lisa is going to be another owner, and I'm going to add that. So now I have the group, and let's just do that one more time for my fiscal. I'm going to add another group or create a new group. This will be MUCVM Greg, and this will be fiscal. Same purpose. If I hit create, it's going to ask me who do you want to add. I'll add Lisa as an owner, so she can again help me manage this group, and I'll add that. Now we have our groups. So I could then come down here in this left navigation. If I scroll down, I have a section called groups, and here's the two groups that I just created. So let's say if I click on this, it will show I can actually send an email to that group if I want to send an email. I can go to my group files, the calendars, but I don't use this for anything else except for managing, setting security on our folder. But you can do more. But if I want to edit the group, like if I want to add people or remove people, then I come down here. It says manage your groups. It will show me all the groups that I'm an owner of. So I'm an owner of these groups. So then I can come in here, I can see about it, the information about HR. Let me go to HR. It gives a description. I can go to members, and then I can add my members. I can hit X to delete my members. So this is how you will manage your groups. Now, the benefit of doing it this way is I can go out to, I'm going to pull the desktop client over here. I use Outlook on the desktop client. So I can go to the global address book, and that pops up. I can look up Lisa's name again. Here's Lisa. So now if I go to member of, I can see what groups she's a member of. And I no longer have to look through every folder to say, does she have rights here? Does she have rights here? I can see here, okay, she's a member of this. And since she's leaving, I need to take her out of these two groups. And once I do that, it'll take her rights away from those folders or those channels. So I would just go back into Outlook and remove her from those groups. Now that she's a member of this group, all we need to do is just give rights to the group, to those folders, okay? So let's go do that. So now let's say I want the fiscal group to have rights to this whole channel and only the fiscal group. So all I would have to do is come here, click on the three dots and say Manage Access. Now under Groups, I can say, if I hit the three dots here, let's see, sorry, right beside the three dots, it says Grant Access. I can give it the name. I don't need to notify everybody in the group about this. I can say MUCVM Greg, and this is the fiscal one. So it'll find that group. And it shows here's a pencil so they can edit. So everybody in this group, in the fiscal group, can edit whatever's in this folder, which is a channel. So now I grant access. And likewise, let's go ahead and go into the HR, because everybody on the team has access to this, but I only want that HR group to see what's unlimited. So I would do the same thing. I would select that folder. I'd click the three dots and manage access. Up at the top, you can grant access. Again, here's the groups that have access. Right now, it's just the owners. But I'm going to grant access to the MUCVM Greg HR group. They have added access. So now when I go back and look at this, let's just check this. Let's just look at this. Manage access. Now I have three groups. So only the owners and the members of this HR group can see what's in this folder. Now, they do need to be a member of the team, right? Because they have to be able to get to this channel. So as long as they're a member of the team and you make them a member of those groups that we created, then they'll have access to the folders. So that's how you can limit access. Here is, again, the fiscal. That's how you can limit access to a standard channel. So if I come back in here into my team, HR, and files. Right now, only Lisa and I can see what's in limited. If I add other people to the team, even as members, they can see all, but they can't see this. But now I can come into this channel because it's a standard, and now I can add those other applications that you couldn't do as a private channel. Oop, task by planner to do. Okay, so again, you can create all. I will mention that you can create up to 200 standard channels per team. You can create, on top of that, 30 private channels and 50 shared. So there is a restriction. Even if I create, let's say I create a private channel, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that, I'll delete it. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to add another private channel. Now it's 30 created private channels. So even if you delete it, it counts against your quota. And same is true for all the other channel types. What I would not do is let me just come to facility, and I'll do manage access. What I would not do it here, because if I say grant access and I do an individual, there's no way for me to know that Lisa had access here unless I went through every folder or every channel. So I never give individual access, unless maybe this is Lisa's name. If this is like a student, or maybe you have people have their own private channel or private folders, you can give it in that method. But I would not do it here. But you might say, what happens if I only had one person needs access? I would still create a group and give that group access, because then I could easily see again. I could come here to Outlook, right? Because if I come here to Outlook and Lisa left and somebody else took her place, then I could see again what groups she's a member of. And I'm like, oh, she's a member here. Somebody else has taken her place. I can go here, take Lisa out, put the other person in her place, and that person automatically gets access to the folders that she needs. Even if it's just one person, I still create the group, because you want to manage by group. Okay. The last thing I want to show is SharePoint has built-in groups. They're called SharePoint groups. Let me just show you those. So if I go back to home, we'll wait for this. There should be a little gearbox up here that shows up that I can go to settings. There we go. So if I go here and I go to site permissions. So the permission for my whole SharePoint site. It shows that there's site owners, there's site members, so the members and the visitors. Oh, I took that visitor. So they have no control. So there's members and there's owners. I can go to advanced permission settings and you can see all of them here. So by default, this visitors have read access to your site. Members, they have edit access, and owners have view access. And you can create additional SharePoint groups and use SharePoint groups. A lot of people use these SharePoint groups for their sites. I use the M365, and you can make an M365 group a member of your SharePoint members group. But again, they'd have that edit access to your whole site. So I just want to point out where the SharePoint groups are located. Like I said, you can create new groups. In fact, I can create a group. Let me just show you this one. If I create a group like Greg's site, they only have the ability, I'll put limited. What that will do, I mean, I can name whatever I want. You can look at the different membership. I should put restricted. The restricted view is they can view your pages. Let me click on this and bring it up. Restricted view, they can view your pages, all your lists and your documents. Documents can be viewed in the browser, but not downloaded. So you might have cases where you have stuff that you want them only to see in a browser, but restrict their download. So the difference is on the read view, they can download it. And you can see the other options there. Okay. So you can create your own restricted groups and use that throughout your SharePoint site. Okay. And that's more getting into SharePoint. But I just want to show you how you can focus on teams, how you can make standard channels and limit that. People might ask, well, if I do this, how can everybody on the team can still see the post if I have a standard channel? And that's true. In that case, you want to create a chat group, right? So my chat groups here, like here's a Power BI training group. So here I've created a list of people. It looks like there's 4 of us. If I click on this, it'll show the members. I can add more people to my group. Once I create a list of people, if I want to create a group, I can just start typing people's names. I'm going to pick on Lisa, as always. And I'm going to add, this time I'll add my wife in there. She's used to my spams here. Okay, so as I add more and more people in here, Christina, I don't want to, here's Chris Shaw, we'll add Chris. Okay, I can drop this down, add a group name, and I can give it something more descriptive than that. Now, if I already have a group of people, let me, I'll put test or demo. Okay, I already have now I have a list of people. Oh, it's already been named training chat, sorry. But if it wasn't named, it would show the list of names. And I can come up here, there'll be a pencil beside the names where I can click on that pencil and give it a name. Okay. But I can always come here and see who's in the chat group. So what I'm saying is you can create a standard team with private information. And for your post, you could use a chat group if you want to keep it private. Okay. So that's one way to get around that. Okay. Lisa, is there something else that you can think of that we need to go over for this?
No, actually, I think you nailed it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you all watching the video. And if you have any other questions, let us know. What I do want to show you is to show you our training website. If you go to DoIT, so it's a division of IT, doit.missouri.edu in your browser. You scroll down to the middle, there's training. We have a new training website here. If you select this middle Microsoft 365 training, if that's what you're interested in, you select that. If you're on a university computer, it should take you right to it. Otherwise, You'll have to log in because you do have to be part of the University of Missouri. But you'll notice here there's some training videos for new faculty staff. We do have a section here for training comments. So maybe you'd like to see some training that we don't offer yet. Be sure to select that. Here's some recorded training. You can book your training. And then we'll have some notes here. Try to keep that updated for you all. And then if you have trouble registering, you can either reach out to us or it gives you explanation on how to clear your cache for these different browsers. And here's a schedule of our upcoming training videos. So be sure to check that out. All right. Well, that concludes our training, and I hope you all find this beneficial, and we look forward to seeing you at the next training.